welcome back to another episode of our Sun Valley Special. Today we have another awesome vehicle to review. Welcome to the 2018 Jeep Trackhawk.
Now, for a few years, Dodge has been crazy enough to stuff the 6.2-liter Supercharged V8 into the Challenger and Charger, creating the most powerful muscle cars in the world, but it really seems like they wanted to one-up themselves.
Now, the 2018 Jeep Trackhawk is the latest to receive this 707 horsepower supercharged beast of a motor. It is, however, down 5 foot-pounds of torque compared to its Hellcat siblings at 645 foot-pounds. Now, to make up for this massive torque deficit, the Jeep has been fitted with an amazing all-wheel drive system that is capable of launching this car from 0 to 60 in a mere 3.5 seconds and blazing through the quarter mile in just 11.6.
That's right. This SUV is capable of going through the quarter mile in 0.1 seconds slower than the purpose-built Ford GT supercar. We'll give you a few seconds to think about how crazy those numbers are. Now, this 6.2-liter supercharged V8 is also paired with the 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, meaning that traction is never an issue.
Now, you will have to sacrifice the smoky burnouts due to the all-wheel drive system. However, there's no question that your tires will thank you. Not only does this Jeep accelerate like a bat out of hell, but it also can fly like an eagle. This massive 4x4 Jeep SUV has a top speed of 180 miles an hour, or in a more civilized unit of measurement, 290 kilometers per hour. This Jeep literally makes no sense, and that's exactly why we love it. The price may seem a little bit steep at $100,000 US all in. However, when you start to compare it to the other competitors such as the X5M, GLE 63, or even the Cayenne Turbo S, it's roughly $40,000 to $60,000 cheaper. Not only is it cheaper, it also has more horsepower, more torque, a higher top speed, a faster 0 to 60, and I really think it sounds the best out of all the high-performance SUVs. And have you guys heard this thing? You've got amazing supercharged whine at the front, and one of the nastiest sounding V8s coming through the quad pipes at the rear.
Now, the Trackhawk may not be as luxurious or technologically advanced as its competitors. However, when it comes to comfort, speed, and practicality, the Jeep has them licked. Now, one downside of this Jeep is its gas mileage. Rated at 13 miles per gallon, it's not the most efficient SUV, but let's be honest, when you're spending $100,000 on a 707 horsepower Jeep, I'm sure that gas mileage is the least of your concerns.
Let's also not forget an often overlooked figure, as this Jeep right here will give you about as many miles per gallon as possible. Well, we've done a lot of talking, but I think it's now time to take her out for a spin. Wish us luck in avoiding the local constabulary, as this is not our car, and I'm sure whatever speed we get clocked at would be more than excessive.
Anyways, hope you guys enjoy. Well, here we are in the Trackhawk, and man, is it fast! Oh my god, what's your first impression?
Well, I think the first thing you notice when you drive this car is just how loud the supercharger whine is. You can only be at around 1500 or 2000 RPMs, and you just get that beautiful little whine as you accelerate.
Now, as far as driving experience goes, how do you compare this in terms of throttle, steering, braking, this and that?
I have to say, so far, everything's pretty good. The throttle response is instant, and you get that great V8 bellow accompanied by the supercharger line. The suspension, like I said earlier, is a lot more comfortable than I thought, and we've driven in some X5Ms and ML63s, which are really harsh compared to this and have less power as well.
Now, I think it's really easy to step inside this car and get the initial impression that just by the interior, you see that, it looks more like a $50,000 Jeep Grand Cherokee versus $100,000. But you also have to remember that those $100,000, they went into a lot of research and development as far as the drivetrain goes. Now remember, this is an all-wheel drive car and it makes 707 horsepower, and that's not easy to send 707 horsepower to all four wheels. And they also had to make sure that this SUV can also tow 7,200 pounds, and essentially they had to revamp the transfer case and the drive shaft in order to do so compared to the standard Cherokee.
And I think by doing that, they've really created something very special. I mean, this car is probably the greatest daily driver you could ever have. It's super comfortable, you know, the most powerful SUV on the road, lots of space, and, you know, it's got all-wheel drive, so all-weather capabilities. I think the main thing you do notice, though, when you drive it is just how loud the exhaust is and how fast you go, as we shall now experience.
Yeah, and I just want to also touch upon that point where you said how practical it is. Like, for instance, you get all these options here as far as the driving dynamics go. You get a track mode, a sport mode, a snow mode, and a tow mode. And if you ask me, like, what other car do you think offers 5 modes that are completely different apart from each other, you know?
Yeah, I think this SUV is really in a class of its own. I know some people say that, you know, it's not quite as exciting or as fast as the other Hellcat siblings. However, those things just fail completely when there's even the slightest bit of rain, and you can just forget about it if you're in the snow. What they've done here is really amazing, because, like Phil said earlier, to be able to send all 707 horsepower to all 4 of the wheels, it's not an easy accomplishment. Now, Phil, I know you got a chance to drive the 2017 X5M as well, and you've been a passenger in this car. Just from the feel as you get pushed back, which one gives a greater sensation?
Well, if you compare those two as far as like the oomph factor, I think this is so much more raw and in a sense more fun, you know? With the X5M, when you floor it, you don't get pushed as hard as back into your seat. It feels more like a Swiss Army knife. It's very exact, it's very precise. It'll do everything without any errors, whereas this, you have to be a lot more on your toes, and you can it's just a little bit more involving. All right, so as far as the transmission goes, what do you think of this 8-speed ZF?
I mean, this 8-speed ZF, it's been around for a couple years now, and in so many different cars, and I really think this is probably the greatest transmission, you know, automatic transmission there is on the market today. You know, shifts are super crisp, super fast, and even when you leave the car in automatic mode, you know, it always feels like it's in the right gear, and if you do decide to punch it, it'll drop down, you know, 2 or 3 gears at a time to get the revs up to, you know, if you have to pass somebody or if you just want to have some fun.
Yeah, I agree. Now, granted, they obviously couldn't put a dual clutch in here because this SUV needs to tow 7,200 pounds. But like I said, I don't think we really have any complaints with this 8-speed ZF. Alright, so this car is known for acceleration. What is it like accelerating in this car?
Well, it looks like we got a nice bit of straight road here with no other cars coming, so why don't we pop her into track mode and really see how she goes.
Definitely approaching the speed limit there, and it was pretty under control. I gotta say, it definitely felt stable.
You guys have to remember, you always got to respect the speed limits in your local area, and you know, as long as you're not going too fast, I think you guys will be okay.
Well, everyone, now it's my turn behind the wheel, and we have also a little bit of an open stretch. Again, I'm just going to approach the speed limit. Yeah, it gets to the speed limit very quickly.
Now, I haven't been a passenger too long in this car, and just on that full acceleration up to the legal speed limit of 60 miles an hour, it definitely feels faster as a passenger.
So we've both done a few accelerations with the X5M and the Trackhawk, and one thing that you notice is that on upshifts, they sound amazing. But the X5M will only do that if it's in Sport Plus mode and also when you're approaching redline, Whereas this, you just have to get roughly just above 4,000 RPM, and it'll make that nice upshift noise. And as far as like the noise on upshifts go, like how would you describe them?
I think, the engineers for exhaust these days, they've just gone above and beyond. All the burbling and crackling, when you're downshifting in the overrun, it just sounds amazing. And, especially in this car here, you don't even have to be close to the red line.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in, light terms, when the X5N upshift, it sounded like you were breaking a board. Whereas this sounds like you're, I don't know, firing like a machine gun for like 1 second maybe. Wow, I mean, it's just amazing how much torque this thing has. I'm in 6th gear right now, I'm doing 3,000 RPM, I just put my foot on the gas. And the supercharger just starts to whine. And you were right, there's just so many good noises in this car.
Now, I know you haven't spent too much time behind the wheel. However, in the few acceleration runs and long sweepers we've gone through, how do you find the car to handle?
Well, the first thing when you notice about this car regarding handling is that the steering is a little bit softer. Now, granted, this is more about, being a comfortable daily driver, and obviously for those purposes it shouldn't have heavy steering. But you got to understand also that Jeep probably knew that the average Trackhawk owner is not going to take their $100,000 SUV to the track, and they probably thought that handling wasn't really a priority. I think it was just a lot more about putting a humongous supercharged 6.2 liter V8 under the hood to give you 707 horsepower.
I have to agree. I definitely think Jeep knew that this was going to be the daily driver of the Hellcat siblings, and in that regard the handling isn't quite as sharp. If you want to go to the racetrack and have a bit tighter steering, you'll definitely go for the Challenger or the Charger. Now, as far as seating and driving position, I think that Jeep has done a really good job. You can get the seat nice and low, and you can get the steering wheel nice and close to your chest. One gripe I do have, however, is the placement of the paddles on the steering wheel. Most cars these days with paddle shifters, you get a full paddle where you can shift it from many different positions with your hands on the wheel. However, in the Trackhawk here, you really only get a half a paddle, and your hands have to be kind of glued at 10 and 2.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I mean, sure, that might be a bit of a downfall, but if you do use the paddles, like for instance I'd use them now, a downshift, yeah, they're definitely responsive. Again, you get that nice pop in the back when you upshift.
Yeah, no gripes with the actual action of the paddle, as the gearbox is just so quick, you can shift so fast, and as soon as you touch the paddle, you either got a gear less or a gear more. It's just that when you're driving fast, or let's say you're turning, your hands really have to be right above the paddles and can't be anywhere else.
Now, with my initial experiences just with this driving position, I think it's really good. I like this steering wheel. It has this nice grip to it, especially at 9 and 3. And the seats, what I like about them is that they don't kill you as far as bolstering goes. I mean, I think today a lot of manufacturers, they just love to put these huge seats with tons of bolstering to make it seem like you're sitting in a race car.
I think in conclusion, what Jeep has done is they've really created the ultimate daily driver. You've got so much power that you can beat anybody in a race on the road, which you shouldn't. You've got so much space that you can have 5 people in comfort, plus all their bags and maybe even some ski stuff. And I mean, the car just looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and overall, you can use this any month of the year and not have any issues.